make a start. Welcome to the Employment Committee. I'm Councillor David Johnston. I'm the chair of the committee. A couple of housekeeping notes. When invited to address the meeting, please ensure members speak into the microphone so we can be broadcast live and clearly. When you've finished addressing the meeting, please turn off your microphone. Please ensure you're switched off or silent any other devices you may have with you. And there are no planned fire alarms today. Therefore, should the fire alarm go off, we will rapidly disappear through that door and assemble in the car park behind the Windmill Public House. Please note we're being broadcast live and members of the public not in attendance can tune into the meeting. I'll say at the beginning, in the confidential items, part of the blue papers does refer to the workforce report, which is in the open agenda. We'll move into confidential session after we've had the conversation on the workforce report. And if you have any questions on the blue papers, please leave those till after we've gone into confidential session. So we'll move to the agenda. Have we any apologies?
We have apologies from Councillor Shenton with Councillor Organ as substitute.
Welcome, Councillor Organ. Do any committee members have any interest you'd like to declare in relation to items on the agenda? No? There's nothing you wish to know? Right. The minutes of the meetings have been circulated. The minutes of the 4th of February. Are there any points any members wish to raise? In which case, I'll take the minutes as noted. I need to approve the minutes. Yeah, well, we just... They're in the wrong order, aren't they? Right, could I have a proposer, please, to accept the minutes of the 4th of February? This or Councillor Parker first. Councillor Parry.
Good morning, Chair. I'm very happy to propose the adoption and approval of the minutes.
Happy to second.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. That's approved. And the minutes of the 25th of February. Proposer, please. Councillor Juned, seconder. Councillor Coles. All those in favour? Thank you. They're agreed. The minutes of the 14th of May, which was the annual meeting of the council. Can I propose to accept those, please? Councillor Parry, seconder. Councillor Stanley, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Right, item 4 is relating to the start time of meetings. Could I propose that we meet at 10 a.m? Is there a seconder for that? Please, Councillor Juned. Is there any other proposal? No. In which case, please show all those in favour. Thank you very much. Right, move on to the review of the staff strategy action plan. And could I invite Layla Doman to present her report?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. So the first report we're considering this morning is the review of the Staff Strategy Action Plan. Just as a reminder, you'll recall that we agreed the staff strategy in December 23. following which we determined and developed a detailed action plan for the delivery of that strategy. We agreed at that time that part of the monitoring would be that would come to this committee twice yearly at the June meeting and the November meeting. So the first matter that I want to do is just give a very brief update on where we are from a monitoring point of view. So these are the key actions that have been achieved from the 1st of January to the end of this month. And we have a couple of really great achievements. So we've been reaccredited under the Disability Confident Employer Scheme for the next 3 years, which is fantastic. A staff group together with Unison have created an outdoor space in what we call the quadrangle, which is the area of open ground sort of in between the offices, which was previously completely derelict. It's a really lovely area now, and staff are using that. There are benches and real life plants that are growing, and the staff are looking after them, and it's a really lovely place for staff to go and be able to take a break from their desks. The following two projects that we actually undertook as one total project, so employer branding and recruitment methods and channels. And my colleague Dave Williams in the HR team led on this particular project with Tony Perks leading it. And there has been a complete overhaul of all of our jobs pages on the website. If you get a chance to have a look, please do. It looks really great, really professional. We've got lots of case studies, lots of information around the benefits, the why choose Stratford, and some really great stuff in there. So that was a really comprehensive piece of work that's been completed. Full details, if you want to look at more details, you'll find those in Appendix 2. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about under this paper is some proposed changes to the action plan. So, of course, when we developed the action plan in 2024, we had no idea that local government review was coming down the line. And having had that notice in December 24, I have reviewed with management team and Unison the outstanding actions on the staff strategy action plan to take a look and see whether they are still relevant, whether they're still a valuable use of our time, or whether there are other things that we should be focusing on, particularly with a mind to the fact that as we get to next spring, we get our date and start to work towards that, there is going to be an enormous amount of work that we need to do as an HR team to get us to the vesting day. So this is where your additional piece of paper that was on your desk this morning comes in. Unfortunately, it didn't print quite right in the minutes, so apologies. But you should have a landscape piece of A4 which talks about the review of the outstanding actions. And you will see in the final column, quite simply, we've said either to continue with the action or not to proceed with the action. And there is some narrative to the left of that as to why that's been determined. Chair, do you want me to go through each of those individually?
I'm trying to get a sense. I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so I'll just take if anyone's got questions on any particular points or would like anything expanded or a bit more information, please do ask, and either David or I will be happy to respond.
Councillor Coles.
Sorry, it's the first one on the list. Are you continuing with rolling forward the BUPA contract, or have you stopped it altogether? You're rolling forward, that's fine. I read it again, and then I read it again, and I wasn't quite sure, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Coles. So we've had a contract with BUPA for some time now for the provision of two different things. We have a health expenses scheme for the staff, and they also run our counselling provision for us. That rolls on an annual basis. Our proposal had been to review that in full. However, that doesn't seem the right thing to do, given that that contract would likely be reviewed again within the new unitary authority. So the proposal is to carry it on. So there will be no change for staff. They will still receive the benefits they get. And of course, going into local government review, that might be quite an unsettling period for staff. So the counselling service may be even more important.
Any questions or comments?
Everyone's happy? if I could just make a comment, if that's it. It was the one at the bottom, the staff consultation group. We've got Unison as our recognised trade union at Stratford, and we've got a really positive relationship with Unison. They don't represent all the staff, though. They represent a good proportion of staff, but not all staff. And we had envisaged establishing this staff consultation group quite late in the staff strategy process. What we are now seeking to do is establish it with a specific view of consulting with staff in relation to LGR, and probably bring that much earlier forward in the programme as well, so that they can actually input upon the council's direction on LGR. I will also say, I mean, Leila's referenced local government reorganisation. There will be, following the government's decision in the summer of 2026, a huge amount of effort that the council will need to do in several work strands, including HR, in the preparations for that vesting date on the 1st of April 2028 is the date that we're currently being told.
Any other questions, comments? In which case, the recommendations are that the current position is noted and that we have accepted the recommendation in respect of the remaining actions identified in Appendix 3. Can I propose that? Can I have a seconder? Councillor Juned. All those in favour, please show. Anyone? That's everyone, I think. No one against, no one abstaining. Thank you. So, can we move to the workforce report? As I said, if during the discussion members have questions relating to the blue paper, please can reserve those to the time when we go into exempt session. And can I invite Leila Doman to present her report?
Thank you, Chair. So this is the twice yearly workforce report which we bring to the Employment Committee. Our terms of reference require us to report the establishment position to you twice a year. So this is the report for the activity from the 1st of October 24 through to the 31st of March 25. So I'll just go through it in turn. It's relatively straightforward. There were no compulsory redundancies during this particular period. There were 2 flexible retirements, and as the Chair said, if you've got questions on those, if we can just hold those until confidential session, please. One of the things that we report to you, which is really important, is the additional decisions which are delegated to David as the head of paid service. So these are decisions around the establishment which are within the existing budgetary framework and for which there are no compulsory redundancies, and they range a range of things from reducing and increasing hours of posts to slightly larger restructures, but where it's within budget and with the agreement of the team. So you will see those in listed in Appendix 1. I'll just pause there to see if there are any questions on any of those delegated decisions.
Any questions?
No. Okay, so then just on to the establishment position as at the 31st of March 2025. At that point, we had 293.78 full-time equivalents, head count of 332, slightly up on last year. We had a number of new posts agreed through the budget process, so we're slightly up. In terms of vacant posts, we're running at 21.61 FTE. It's important, though, to note that those aren't all recruitable vacant posts. Many of those are reductions in hours and existing posts. So, for example, if an officer, we have a budget for 1 FTE, so a full-time post, and they make a flexible working request to reduce to 4 days a week, for example, 29.6 hours, those remaining 7.4 hours would sit as vacant on the establishment, but of course wouldn't be recruitable to, as you would be unlikely to get one person, somebody coming for 1 day a week. So a number of those, I wouldn't want you to think we've got 20 vacancies sitting there. That isn't the case. Any questions on anything I've said there? It's relatively straightforward, I think.
Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Leila. I'm just wondering from a strategic point of view how the team cope with the requests for flexible when you get these small gaps for one day, and what sort of impact it does have on the provision of services to residents.
Through you, Chair, really interesting question, Councillor Parry, and it really depends on the case-by-case basis. So, as you can imagine, in a very, very small team of only a handful of people, if somebody wants to reduce hours, that can have quite a big impact on that team. Whereas if you are, for example, working in customer services or revenues where there are 20 or 30 members of staff, the impact of reducing one day is far less. So, everybody has a legal right now to put in a flexible working request from day one. That's the legal entitlement. Every request is considered thoroughly, and there are only a number of business reasons, legal reasons, that we can actually refuse a request. One of those, of course, is impact on service delivery, and it's one of the things we look at very carefully. We also, I would say, generally start from a point of, if we can approve a request, we could. It's really important for staff morale, and you find from a morale point of view, if you can assist somebody who wants to work flexibly, often because they have other responsibilities around caring, that you get that back absolutely, you know, in terms of their morale going forward. That said, we often get to a position where we're compromising with them. So somebody might say, well, I would really like to just drop half a day. And we'll say, well, actually, 2 days would be better because then we could recruit. That there are normally negotiations that are going on. But if we can approve things, we do, and we have a number of staff working really well. But as I say, individual case-by-case basis.
Any other questions? Councillor Parker.
Yes, sorry, as the subject has been raised, thank you. Could you give us a view on the propensity for people to take up this option as a percentage of the workforce? How many are working in a sub-FTE way, if that makes sense? Thank you.
Through you, Chair, that does make sense. I haven't got those figures absolutely at my fingertips.
I'm happy for a guess.
But we do have a guess. Excellent. Okay. So we do have a number of staff working part-time, but I would say they are split into two camps. So they are posts which were only ever entitled to be or required to be part-time, and those where we've had a flexible working request, but we are holding hours on the establishment. I would have thought, gosh, maybe up to 5%. We do have quite a lot, and of course it's not just flexible working itself. Flexible retirement requests would also sit in that same camp, and that's a scheme that many staff in the last few years have taken advantage of. And in fact, you know, when we come to talk about the confidential papers, you'll see there's been a couple in the last 6 months. But what that does is enable us as an authority to keep that person with all their skills and experience for maybe slightly longer than we might have been able to. So that really helps with succession planning and getting the next people in. So, yeah, not a precise answer, but hopefully that helps.
Perfect, thank you.
I do sign some of these off, and the impression I get is a method of retaining experienced staff who we might otherwise lose. So there's a trade-off here, I'm sure, that goes on when line managers sign off these proposals.
No, no comment, Chair. I think you've covered it.
Any other questions, comments? In which case, can I propose the recommendation that the contents for the report be noted? Is there a seconder? Councillor Brown, thank you. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous, thank you. Right. Item 7 is urgent business. I'm not aware of any urgent business, so we'll move on to item 8, in which case we have to exclude members of the public. I'm sorry. I read out the following paragraph. that pursuant to Section 100A, subsection 4 of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, the public be excluded from the remaining business of the meeting in view of the fact that the nature of the proceedings will be such that, if the public were present, there would be likely be disclosure to them of exempt information under paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the said Act as amended.